What's going on, you gamers? Here we are back with a little bit more Anvil Vault Breakers, and today what I'm going to be doing is going over what I believe are some of the best relics that you can get for those tiers. I'll be breaking them up into tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 in separate videos. Today's going to be tier 1, so stay tuned, that's coming up next. Welcome back, you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you all the latest and greatest content, hints, tips, guides and builds for all the latest games. But for today, I'm going to be jumping straight over to here and giving you what I believe can really help you out on some of your missions for the tier 1 relics. Now, don't think just because they're tier 1 they're not worth picking up. Some of the tier 1s are just as good or even better than the tier 2s and tier 3s. So here are the ones that I tend to look out for and pick up in order to survive those really tough encounters. Coming in at number 10, and probably a little bit more aimed towards tanks than anything else, but also works on some of the other breakers, and that's the Life Up Defender. This right here is absolutely amazing if you're doing probably mostly so for the second galaxy Symphonia. If you were going to be going into the third galaxy, you wouldn't want these because you don't want to be getting battered around this much. However, Life Up Defender increased max HP by 300 when taking damage and stacks 100 times. To put that in perspective, it's exactly the same at max as this Extrium inner suit, except at a fraction of the cost. If you're a breaker that can handle the beats, and if you want to get up really fast, what you could do is stick around, take some beats from an enemy. If you've got a way to regen your health afterwards, and wait until you've got a significant part of that max HP, and it will help you out throughout the rest of your missions. Nice and easy, a really good one, but doesn't work on every breaker and doesn't work on every situation. Like I said, probably not going to want this on the third one, but for the other two, it's a great one to have in those galaxies. Next up, and one that is really underrated in my eyes, and that would be this one just here, and that's the greaves. This one can definitely, in my eyes, mean the difference between surviving encounters or absolutely falling over. And on some of your tankier builds, such as the Mountain, Rush, anyone where you need to get that actual guard back, these can be amazing, but can also be really good on some of the other builds. For example, Lightning if you feel you need to get a little bit more dash, or any build that you think you're struggling with dash on, this can really help as well. At the start it gives you 15% survival skill on your dash, guard, etc. with the cooldown decrease, meaning you're going to be able to get them back a little bit faster. It goes up from 30, 45 and 60 all the way to 75%, which is massive at the end. But another great thing you get with it, after the third one, you're going to get 15% attack speed increase on the third, 30% on the fourth, and 45% attack speed increase on the fifth, meaning you'll be able to dish out a little bit faster damage, doing more DPS, and having your survival skill come back much faster. This one's a really good one to have if you're struggling with your defense or struggling to stay alive. Next up, and just one that I've got to put in because it's just a really nice easy one to chuck onto any build that's going to up your damage, and that's high powered rounds. At the start off, it's going to give you 30% weapon power increase, then 60, then 90, very maxed out, it's going to give you 150% weapon power increase, which is definitely something you can't pass up and will just be so much additional damage, it's well worth having. Also, from the third one onwards, you're going to get an additional bonus to your recovery amount, 50% recovery, 100% recovery, and finally 150% recovery amount increase, meaning if you are struggling with your health, this may be a good one to chuck on, as you're going to get a big boost to your health increase if you've got a way to recoup it. Also, the damage is really nice. This one is definitely one I put on a lot of my builds. Next up, and we've got the power chip, 30% skill power increase, all the way up to 150% skill power increase if you manage to get 5 of these, and a recovery of 15% on max HP on skill hit. Honestly, this one's really good. It gives you a way to get a bit of health back, it's going to give you a nice portion to your skill power. Again, you're probably not going to use all of these on that last galaxy, but if you're making your way through the 1s and 2s, this one is definitely one to look at if you're trying to get that skill power build up. This one will do that and give you a way to recoup a little bit of health. A really nice one if you're going to invest a few into it, probably picking up at least 3 at the lowest. And again, very similar to the power chip, we have the critical power chip, and that's the 40% critical damage increase, 80% critical damage increase, 120% critical damage increase, all the way up to 200% if you're picking up 5 of them. From the 3 onwards, you're also going to get a bit of crit hit chance, which will raise your damage drastically. You may not think it, but anytime you can chuck on any type of little bit of crit, it's going to boost your DPS through the roof, and the extra damage on your crit just is the icing on the cake. So from 3 onwards to 5, you get 5%, 10%, and maxed out you'll have 15% critical hit chance. If you're trying to make your way through Symphonia, I would highly recommend trying to find some of this. It will definitely help you to do a lot more burst damage when those crits come about. Next up, and we have Single Shot Magazine. Now this might sound like a bit of an odd choice because it is a bit niche and it doesn't work in every single build, but with some weapons this one can be amazing. 100% all weapon power increase, but your magazine capacity is fixed to 1. This applies to every single weapon, meaning that on most builds and most weapons this is going to completely botch you up and you'll never want to take it. However, if you're trying a really powerful build with your weapon and you use it in conjunction with some other things, say for example this just over here, the infinite magazine, on a lot of the weapons it's going to mean that you fire exactly the same as normal. Obviously you're not going to want to use it on those charge up type of weapons, but any weapon that fires normally and is fixed at 1 will also fire normally. Doesn't work on every weapon, but is well worth checking out on some of them, especially the standardized weapons, because it can mean you get an extra 100% or weapon power increase at the cost of no real loss to your magazine. Or of course any that you're already using as single burst. Next up, and again just a nice easy one if you want some increase to your boss damage, perfect for that second Symphonia Galaxy. So the first one's going to give you 15% additional damage to bosses, 30% on the second, all the way up to the end of 75% additional damage to bosses. Also, like I said, the additional is the fact that you get 30,000 max HP increase. On most classes this will be perfect and you won't need to worry about any more max health other than what this is going to give you. So well worth looking at, and if you were going to go down that route of trying to pick 5 of these up, it should sort out your HP as well, meaning that you can focus on damage or whatever else you want to chuck it into. A really good one to go for that works amazingly well on bosses, especially when you're trying to put a good damage build together. Well worth looking at. Next up, and a brand new one since the update, and that's the lightweight mag. Now this snare is probably the best way I'd say in game to get your attack speed up. In fact I don't think there's anything better than it currently. The first one is going to give you 15%, second's going to give you 30%, all the way up to the last one that's going to give you an increased attack speed massively of 75%. Also from the third one onwards you're going to get weapon power by 30%, 60% and 90%. For my pick for basically the second Galaxy, I would say this is one of the best ones you can pick up now, especially if you're trying to go a lot more gun damage than you are skill power. This is one you'll want to watch out for because it's going to give you a massive boost to your DPS and constant damage. One of my favourite ones in the game now, and I think it's good they've put it in. Next up, and these are just great in any situation. First Galaxy, second Galaxy, even on that third Galaxy I'll use these sometimes because the increase is quite significant, and that's any of the status ones. So if you have a little look here, anything to shock target, petrified, frozen or fire is going to mean you're going to be getting additional damage. So if you have a way in your class, which I believe pretty much every class has a way to invoke some of these, you're going to want to be putting this on if you find them for your relics, because it means you're going to do a significant chunk of damage more to them because of the increase. For example, this one right here, if I was playing as lightning, when I do a move that's going to shock them, say for example it lasted 10 seconds, during those 10 seconds, whilst I'm hitting them with the other damage, it's going to be boosted by whatever it says on the right. So the first one's going to give me 50% damage increase against shock targets, then 100, then 150% with a 30% damage increase against targets with any active status effects, meaning even if I'm not able to get in there, if I'm playing with a team, it's going to work perfect. Finally, the last one's going to give you 250% and 90% damage increase against targets with any active status effect. These are really good on your own, and even better with a team because someone is going to be applying a status at some point, meaning you're obviously going to be getting extra damage, a nice boost, and most times you'll be applying your own damage anyway in some form, meaning that you've got 2.5 times the damage to the boss or whatever you're nuking, and it should fall over a lot faster. These I would say are some of the best things in the game for damage increase, and well worth having in any build that you can fit them in. Finally, we've got the special charge module. This one right here is just ridiculously good on some builds. The main one I would say at the moment is probably Lightning, with his damage over time effects to his lasers. If you can fit this into a build, and if you're doing your skills very fast, say you've got skill cooldown, you've got a good rotation, you've got any way to perform skills very often, this one can make your build even better, because you've got 5% chance to reset skill cooldown on skill hit. It's 1 time and 5 seconds per skill, but in the right build with the right characters, like I said, probably at the moment the Lightning is definitely the best. It can mean your skills come back almost constantly, and you're doing considerable damage extra with them because you're able to use them over and over again. A really fun one to use. It doesn't work on everyone, but if you can make it fit in your build, and if it works, it's definitely worth looking into.
Overtime.
Now, as a little bonus one, we've got the explosion scope. This one I haven't fit on the list properly because it's just got a little, well, I say a little, it's just had a big nerf to it, and I don't actually know where it would come in the rankings or if it's worth using currently. But I'd say the explosion scope is definitely one to try out, because before it was doing a significant amount of damage. Now it will not do anywhere near as much, unfortunately, because before it was based off of the enemy's damage, whereas now it's based off of your own. It could be worth a try, but I know it's definitely not hitting as hard as it was, so for the moment it may be worth chucking on, just see how you get on with it, but don't expect it to do the damage that you've seen in other videos, because now it definitely will not, and it won't get better with each of the tougher bosses you're facing. Roll you gamers, hopefully that's helped a few of you out. Like I said, I'll be doing quite a few videos to try and help people out. I'll be doing the tier 2, then the tier 3 list coming up shortly, and as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care, I'll see you on the next day.